This panel represents something new and different here at Enterprise Connect. It's the first time we've elevated the conversation around the contact center and customer experience to the main stage. And I know if you've attended any of our contact center customer experience breakout sessions this week or have spent time on the expo floor, I don't have to tell you why. And customer experience is a hot topic around here. And really, it should be. Who knows better than you that companies large and small are pouring a ton of time and energy into figuring out how they can create a great customer experience and get value for each and every customer engagement. We think it's fair to say that customer engagement is leading so many enterprise communications conversations today. But where those conversations start and where they lead to for your organization depends on whether you've got a traditional UC/CC system in place, or have migrated to a cloud solution, or are taking a new developer-led approach. To help us understand the challenges from each starting point, we've invited industry leaders from these diverse segments to share their perspective based on the work at their companies are doing with enterprise organizations. If you're familiar with contact center customer experience, I'm sure that these faces are all familiar to you, but let me go ahead and do a formal introduction. The far right of the stage is my co-moderator and our contact center customer experience track chair, Sheila McGee-Smith. Next to Sheila is Chris McGugan, who is Senior Vice President of Solutions and Technology with Avaya. Then we have Vasily Triant, who is VP and GM of Cisco Customer Journey Business Unit. Rowan Trollope, who is CEO of Five9. Then we have Tom Eggemeyer, who's the President of Genesis. Paul Jarman, CEO of Nice and Contact. And Al Cook, sitting next to me. He's VP of Product Management and Engineering and GM for Twilio Flex. So, gentlemen, we wanted to start out by asking you to discuss a single customer deal from the past 12 months that really exemplifies the benefits derived from breaking down the barriers between the contact center and the business. Please be specific as possible and not too wordy.
We're going to let them start whenever they want, or we're going to tell who to start first, or, you know. I'm usually pretty darn prescriptive here.
Okay,
There
so
you
Yeah.
go ahead, Sheila.
Feel free to cut us off, Sheila.
Who do you want to start, Sheila?
You know what? Instead of going straight by line, why don't we start with Twilio, then do Avaya, then Paul, Vasily, Tom, finish with Rowan. How does that sound?
Tricky.
Mix it up.
You're the boss.
Don't know if I can remember that, but
You are you.
Well, I'll keep you in track.
Yeah, so I'd love to tell you about our customer Lyft. Lyft, the ride-sharing company, as you know, have been in the process of filing for IPO. And through this journey, they've had to improve driver satisfaction, rider satisfaction. They've also wanted to lower costs and do so in a very, very tight time frame. Lyft came to us and started working on Flex before we fully launched it. And in the matter of 3 months, they went from a proof of concept to an initial rollout to a pilot group of agents to a full production scale rollout to 2,500 agents. And they did so for a number of reasons. They did so because what they really wanted was a single pane of glass, an interface where they can create a beautiful interface for their agents, and they can create this interface in such a way where they put all of the information at their agents' fingertips. And they had not been able to do that with any of the other contact center providers out there because they have data in 11 different systems. They have multiple different CRMs, they have multiple different back-end databases, they have their own knowledge base. Some of them are vendor-based solutions, some of them are homegrown. And it was impossible for them to be able to pull all of those things together.
So that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, because we want to make sure everybody gets a turn.
You said 2 minutes, Sheila.
But did I cut you off early? I was actually going to follow up and say, I think, having spoken to Lyft myself, I think the highlight there is the fact that it was across the business. It's for drivers and customers and everyone. And I apologize. I did cut you off, but we're going to roll with that for now. I let you go first.
Yeah. I mean, I imagine it won't be the last time you cut someone.
Why don't you go, Chris?
Sure. Thanks, Sheila. For me, obviously I've got a large book of business when it comes to contact centers. One that comes to mind for me is Johnson Controls. 3,000 plus seats. They were really looking for how they transform the entire customer experience, and really being able to map customer journey was important for them. The number of interactions that they manage on an annual basis is massive, and very similar to the conversation that Al just mentioned. Disparate data sources, inability to find a way to create a single view for the agent was a huge issue for them. And really being able to consolidate all of that together into one common platform was important across the various businesses that JCI has. So really it was a consolidation play for them.
Got it. Paul?
Good morning. So the one I want to do is Honeywell. And what was unique for them with us was, first of all, they're in 50 countries. They have 4,000 agents, and they have really 130,000 employees. So it was the scale and the complexity and the diversity that was interesting. And so really what they wanted to do was keep it the same cost structure and yet really change their transactional CSAT and their NPS. So we worked with their chief customer officer and their global CIO, and we implemented this solution across all 50 countries and all the different contact centers. And what was interesting about it was both the IT groups and the business groups came together across the divisions and said, we're going to have one standard customer experience across everywhere in the company. And the unification of both those groups was really impressive.
Yeah.
And what resulted from that was they changed the CSAT, and they changed the NPS, and they kept it at the right cost, and they did it across the world.
That is impressive. And you pointed it out, right? It's the chief customer officer and the CIO coming together that 5 years ago we weren't seeing, and is one of the reasons we're here today, that it's really across the business and it's that important at a high level of enterprise communications, right? Vasily, can't wait to hear yours.
Can't I get to go next?
Yes, you get to go next. But good for asking Mother, may I?
Yeah. Well, you said I'm going to leave the wordy for the end. So, but we have contact centers that range from 20 users to 30,000 agents. But one that we've kind of honed in on to talk about is SOS International. They're based out of the Nordics. They're about 500 agents. The interesting part here was they were actually trying to solve a front office and a back office problem, because they have contact center agents, about 500, that are dealing with emergency travel, roadside assistance, Nordic travelers around the world, and especially with all the kind of emergency disaster situations, disaster recovery that are happening with, whether it's terrorist alerts and otherwise, and they're tracking these travelers. But they had 5 different contact center systems before and disparate PBXs. And so this was a CC and UC combination play, where we also implemented agent-to-agent chat, agent-to-supervisor chat, agent-to-back office chat, and integrated, because the standard thing that we all talk about is integrating to the CRM systems that we all know, CTI interfaces. But this was a proprietary CRM with an AS400 backend to bring information into a custom agent cockpit. So single agent interface, bringing all the information to play so that they can talk to their travelers, know who they are, where they are, and give them the information they need.
So you have put the gauntlet down, talked about the integrated enterprise communications and contact center.
You
Everybody else has really talked about a pure contact center play.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Genesis, Tom Megemeyer.
Yeah, with that, it's a tough one to follow. First, we just wanted to welcome Rowan to the club here.
Thank you.
Talked
And out.
talked backstage, and Rowan was saying, "Hey, he's the new person," and I'm glad you really got religion now on customer experience contact center.
Now I do.
Now you do, exactly.
The convert.
I want to talk about a company, Fortune 100 CRM provider, where their CEO came to us and he said, I have a problem linking marketing, sales, and customer service. And so really breaking down the barriers between the contact center and the business. And they had a problem where a lot of leads were coming in, but their marketing team wasn't able to take those customer journeys and give them to the inside sales team. In an effective way, the inside sales didn't know what the journey the customers were on. And so what we help them do is really link marketing, sales, and service together, where we understood the marketing customer journeys. The sales team had an elegant screen pop with all the information about what that customer was really looking to buy. And we increased their sales effectiveness by 20%. 10 hours less a week they were spending on administrative and trying to find data, and we increased their win rate by over 10%. They took that information into service, so now when a customer calls them, they know a lot more about that customer and they're more effectively able to deal with them, and so their NPS has gone up by more than 10 points.
Excellent, excellent. You know, it's interesting as you talk, I think about Alto Cloud perhaps being part of that deal. I mean, I think they really brought in some of that marketing journey information. So good purchase there.
Yes.
Go Galway. No, I know.
Where's the whoops?
Rowan. And
Yeah,
I don't
we're-
even have my sneakers on, my
There you go.
Shamrock sneakers. You know.
Okay, so thanks for the welcome. Appreciate it, and it's actually has been really welcoming over the last couple of years, over the last year specifically. Company I want to talk about is Estee Lauder, global company, $11 billion in revenue, 40 operating companies, and they came to us with a challenge, which was we have a terrible experience. We're upgrading our CRM platform. It's inconsistent. And here's the only problem. We don't know how many agents we have, and we don't know where they are. Can you help us? And so we did. It was 3 separate RFPs over just under a year, which we won each of those independently. Deployed a single platform, obviously in the cloud, to all of their agents. They also selected Salesforce, so we did a integrated routing and omni-channel environment for them using the external routing in Salesforce. So we tied those together with our platform. Created a single pane of glass for their agents. And one of the key things that they asked for, and when we were on site, this happened, was they asked us for. They have a lot of VIP lines, so they do super high-end skincare products, and which I know nothing about. But
I was going to say, your skin is looking
I know
really
it's
good
big.
up there, Rowan.
it doesn't happen.
That's the glow.
By accident.
glow.
And basically, George Clooney's people called in, and of course, we routed the call correctly because they didn't want Clooney's people, whatever, to end up in the wrong queue. And so they ended up at the VIP team, and so that all worked well. And so they have now they're extending that deployment and tying in their employee experience people, so their internal help desk. So hundreds of more agents coming on an employee help desk, and their internal travel desk, and so on, bringing all those agents into place.
Excellent, excellent. So I was going to bridge now that we've got a sense of the kind of customers that you've got across the business. AI has been such a hot topic, right? All year at this show, lots of announcements. As you speak to customers, as you talk to them about their issues, how do you communicate to them that it's not just about chatbots, that it's about how each of you really is building your software differently to incorporate AI? And I'm going to throw it. Who wants to take it first?
Okay.
Rowan, you want to go?
Okay, Paul.
I'll start. so-
Paul with his hand up first. Okay.
It's like Price is Right or something, right? So, what we've learned is a couple things. First of all, is they often don't even understand when we already have AI in and across the platform. So we sit them down and talk to them about the AI tools that we already have, from what we do with persona-based routing, what we do within our WFM, what we do with our analytics, and how that helps them categorize their different things, and how all of that needs to work together in the suite and across the platform in one uniform way. And Estee has to be easy. They don't want a lot of extra people, a lot of cost to really figure it out. They want it just to work within the platform and it to be simple for them to deploy. So we talk to them about, yeah, you can have a chatbot, you can have voice, but there's so much more, and it's easy to put together in the platform.
So a couple of you, 2 to 3, are Google Contact Center AI partners specifically. So does one of you want to talk about what that has meant in terms of raising awareness of AI?
Yeah.
Has Google brought, yeah,
I'll talk about
Al.
it. I mean, I think our approach to AI is that, like, there's a lot of contact center players who have a gendered personification of AI, like it's a thing, and this is one thing, and you can deploy an AI box, and that is how you do AI.
There's a
And
license for it. Yeah.
Right. I mean, you can put a name on it, but you can't pretend that your server mentality is a true platform philosophy. And when you really think about AI, you have to take a platform approach to it. And to me, a platform approach to AI means saying, we are never going to be able to provide all of the AI, and nor is any other vendor out here. It is about providing all of the hooks and all of the right integration points at every layer of the stack, every step of the customer journey. So you can use our AI, you can use Google's AI, or you can go build your own thing. And we've had a tremendous partnership with Google. We've we've been able to show things like automated agent assist using Google AI layered into that. But it has to be about having the control, having the integration points at every step so that you can really build and control the AI at every layer. There isn't a one-size-fits-all solution. This isn't go deploy a box. This isn't plug in one thing.
I think this is a transformational moment for the whole industry. And funnily enough, 4 years ago, I was here on stage right there with Rajesh Shah from Google, who called me up 8 months ago and says, come on over, we got to talk about what we're doing. And he then proceeds to tell me once I got to Mountain View and rode those funny bikes over to the office, he said, well, we're launching our first AI platform and we've chosen the contact center space. And I was, I think, 2 months into 5.9, and I sort of, after I picked up my jaw off the floor, I said, why? Like, why wouldn't you choose healthcare? That was a stupid question. I don't know why I asked it. It just seems that's more interesting. And he said, no, we believe that two things. First, Google is all about organizing the world's information. So the first thing we believe is that the contact center is the biggest source of dark data in the enterprise. And the second thing is that voice for Google is the next $1 trillion opportunity. And so I think that's emblematic of the transformation of this industry overall. And essentially that, look, I got my start 30 years ago and saw firsthand the problems of contact centers, which haven't gotten that much better over the last 30 years. And we finally now have line of sight, and I think we all see it in our daily lives with technology like AI, sort of notably with AI, that seems to be sort of doing things that we thought were impossible before. And it's not, of course, just chatbots. It's every part of the contact center. Like Jonathan, our CTO and head of AI, Jonathan Rosenberg, started, and he came in and said he's identified within 3 months 30 different parts of the contact center that he thinks we can transform using, different approaches and modern technology. So the beauty, back to your question of Google entering this space, and candidly is Amazon's not far behind, as we saw, is that we all get to stand on the shoulders of giants. We don't have to sort of be the ones inventing that. And I think, as Al said, we're never going to be the ones in our companies to solve every problem that every company might have. So it's really about being open and having the ability to plug in lots of different technology to solve lots of different problems. And having Google there as a sort of they've got a loud mouthpiece that has really, really helped put this on the map for the contact center. So I think that was just like a gift from.
So if I may, I want to actually flip it to Avaya, but I'll come back to you, Tom. Is that good? Okay.
Sheila, you're the boss again, so I would not cross you here. So,
but you're not a Google partner. Oh, yes, you are. I'm sorry. You're the
we
best.
were the
You're the
people on
first
the
of
main
biz.
stage.
Yeah, they were on the
first
stage.
You were
one.
with
The first
Fei-Fei.
one,
You were
yes.
Fei-Fei, so I'll let you finish.
Yeah.
Something that Rowan said made me want to come to you. You have the largest installed base of contact center seats, 5.5 million seats of contact center, right? And for some of these players, for Twilio, for 5.9, incorporating Google Contact Center AI becomes a little easier because they don't have all these customers with the legacy base. So what does it mean for you to have announced here at the show for those 5.5 million agent seats, right? Not for the brand new cloud contact center. How do you bring it to that base?
It's a good question, Sheila. I mean, we've had, we've been in the space for a long, long while, and probably have some of the richest integration points across the various channels for AI. I mean, whether it means managing customer journey and routing, or it means creating dynamic self-service platform, we've got the ability to take it in. And for us, I think, Rowan, you make some great points, but it is about culminating the Earth's data, and that rich set of information brings a myriad of different ways to interact with customers, whether it means, heuristics about an individual coming ingress to the contact center, how you treat them, how you interact with them, all the information you can present to an agent to better that experience. It just opens up such a rich opportunity for.
But how do I do that if I'm sitting on, Avaya Aura 6.1, that's been there for 15 years and hasn't been updated? What is that? What does what you just said mean to me?
Well, again, I mean, we can bring the technology into a 6.1 or a 6.3 or an 8.0. It's the opportunity to integrate is there, both at the desktop as well as in the core routing platform. So we can open up those interconnects for almost anyone that's on whatever release they're on. So
although the counterpoint is that sort of what the cloud has enabled that's so powerful, all the things that customers like today, right? But the big thing is data at scale. Like when you get multi-tenant vendors, I mean, we have 5 billion minutes of recorded conversations going through our platform per year. That's a lot of data, dark data today, that can be lit up. And I think that was one of the struggles I had with, as a developer of on-premises things before the cloud. You can't get access to that because it's sitting locked behind enterprise doors and in their own data centers. That's the core struggle. And where you've seen AI really accelerate is where data comes together at scale. Like ImageNet is a great example. Like it took millions of faces and millions of pictures of cats to detect faces and cats. And so we need millions and millions and billions of minutes of recorded customer conversations to be able to do the same thing. That's my
Let me go back to the point that I have a pin stuck in Tom
sorry.
Eggemeyer.
No, that's
All
fine.
right. Well, give me the
And I'll
pen
come
next.
back.
So, I agree and disagree with some of the things on the panel said. First, agree it's all about the data, and all these interactions are key. And I don't think this group has made the journey yet to really lit up. I like that phrase, the dark data. Second, I would say it's not just about AI; it's also about RPA. And I think we forget about RPA too much, but I think
Paul doesn't.
I think it's really linked, and I think you're going to see some exciting stuff in AI and RPA. I agree platform play is really important along with partners, but I kind of disagree that if you don't have AI embedded in all your solutions, you're really not going to serve the customer. And so for me, AI lighting up that data is anticipating a customer is probably going to come to you. And before they come to you, you reach out proactively to them and say, hey, we know we were, whatever, we're late on our shipment. This is where the status of that, you're anticipating the customer needs. Then if they actually come back to you, you can take them to a chat, you take them to a live agent, or what's best to serve them. And when you're doing that, one of the panelists earlier mentioned queues. We're against queues. We think queues is from the 1990s or 2000s. You need to use predictive or personality-based routing to really get them to the right person at the right time that can solve their problem, cross-sell them or upsell them. And so it really needs to be all the whole journey. And so we're really believing you need a partner, but you also have to embed AI in everything you're doing. If you're not embedding AI in everything you're doing, you're just saying it's a partner play, you're going to miss out.
If you're claiming there's a one-size-fits-all solution to AI, I think that's misleading.
I don't. I didn't say that. I think you're misrepresenting what I just said.
If you're saying you embed AI in everything, AI needs training and it needs to be domain and context specific. And so what you're really suggesting is that is a professional services intelligence and not an artificial intelligence, because it needs a level of training and data tagging that you cannot make it work out of the box like that.
I don't think that, I would actually agree with Tom. I don't think that Tom's saying that it needs to work out of the box. I think that we have to layer, and this is what we're doing at Cisco, we have to layer intelligence throughout the platform, be open to integrate to other tool sets out there. So whether, for example, we integrate with Google AI, that's a specific use case for customers that want to leverage for what we call Cisco Answers, which actually is a little bit different than analyzing dark data. It's actually analyzing real-time conversations and real-time data. The problem, whether it's all of us up here or the market itself, when you talk about all the AI being discussed out there, and I talk to some of the largest contact centers in the world, like Chris and Tom do, and they're confused. And there's a mission like, we have to put AI into our business. We have to do something with AI. And then they think it's replacing agents, and then they think it's automating interactions, and they actually don't know what it is. So we back up the discussion and say, what is it you want to change with your customer experience? What is it you want to change for the customer? And then let's back up at what pieces need to be, whether it's Google AI or stuff that's embedded from Cisco that we have, and create the solution to change the customer experience. The problem is we keep talking and marketing solutions that have specific use cases, and every customer is different. And their own journey is different because not every company is just going to automatically move. And Tom, I love the predictive thing. That's something I talk about all the time, but not every customer or company can move to a predictive journey right away.
Part of me is also thinking that being specific with AI, saying, I can do this.
Totally.
Right? You can buy this, you will get this result. It makes it less amorphous than it is right now.
Right.
Right?
You're
Amazon
talking about
Alexa is pretty specific.
You're talking about the outcome, right? So that's what Google AI has done. What we've done leveraging Google AI and Cisco Answers is show that we can analyze real-time conversations, suggest information based on learning behavior to the agents to give better outcomes. So it contextualizes it, remove the AI word, and talk about what the outcome is, and we just layered intelligence on top of it.
And to that point, I think the great thing about AI is it really allows you to do A/B testing and really see increase in close rate, increase in revenue, increase in NPS, whatever you're measuring, you can really take the data sets and really understand the impact, business impact. So agreed with Vasily, it's all about the business impact, and you can really see that with hard data now with AI.
The other thing that's
So
interesting,
I don't think we
Sheila,
want to
just
beat
add,
an A. Okay.
let me add one more point.
One
And it's
point.
for it benefits everybody, and so I think it's great. Everyone's going to have a slightly different approach and work with what they have, essentially. That's good, because I don't think anyone knows exactly what is going to be the killer feature or the killer thing, or even if there will be that. But one thing that we are benefited from in the contact center, A, is huge amounts of data, okay, once you can consolidate it. B is something that we have, which is we have 16 million agents in the world, right? And there's millions of those agents represented on this stage. Those agents are incredibly valuable in this transformation, not only for what they can teach, we can learn from them, but also for what they have to do in the future. And I don't really love a future that basically says, yeah, we're going to put 16 million agents out of work. That doesn't sound very interesting to me. What sounds more interesting is to use the agents for what they're really good at, which is empathy. And I don't think that computers are nowhere close to being able to do that yet. So that is the exciting part, is we actually have this huge asset, all of us together, which is all of those agents. Okay?
Right, and actually,
and lots of structured
as
data.
we think about it, it's beyond that 16 million as well,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Suddenly, the things that we have always brought, right, to people who work in companies, now we can bring it to drivers who drive freight and messengers who deliver messages, and salespeople who sell. We can do the same great things in terms of recording and helping them improve their performance. So the 16 million doesn't even tell the story, I think, of what's going to happen with the technology that all of you provide over the next 5 years.
Well,
So I don't want to beat the AI to death. So we're going to stop talking about it. But I think some of the comments that we've already made bridge to the next topic we want to talk about, which is, we look at Mr. Cook, Mr. Twilio, Mr. Twilio Flex, and he started a little bit of a revolution last year in terms of a developer-led approach to customers building contact centers, right? And I have heard some of you speak of, that has really set off a conversation in the marketplace. So the question I'd like some of the others of you to describe is, how is what he is doing different from perhaps what I know in Contact started doing 5 years ago, right? With an API-led approach. Do you see a difference between what you do and what Al does? And what does that difference mean to the customer?
Yeah, I'll start. So the first thing is that developer-driven is good, but in a lot of cases, it's not the only thing, and it's not enough. And what I mean by that is, in certain cases, companies have the ability to write software, do their own product management, and innovate. And they can do that, and they can take developer-led, they can take the APIs, and do great things. In a lot of cases, companies, contact center is not their expertise. Software is not their expertise. Product management is not their expertise. So what they really need is a suite that's already built, can be configured, goes across all of the different products, and they literally can go in, configure, and go. And for the pieces that they really need to innovate in, they still have the APIs, they still have the SDKs, they can still be creative. We have hundreds of APIs, and they can do both. But we find only about 10% really want to make their own product, and 90% they need someone to innovate for them, build the product for them, think about the agent, the supervisor, the administrator, and make that easy for them to consume.
I think Al could actually live with a 1.6 million addressable market.
It's a big market, and my sense is, my mic, there it is. It's a big market, and my sense is that it's not going to be a one-size-fits-all. It's not going to be one right approach. I'm a developer, so I, of course, love everything that has to do with supporting developers, including everything that Twilio does. But I would also say that this is really about cloud versus premise, and that's a transition that has to happen to the entire market. I think that's a sort of over and done argument. It's figured out now. And so there's going to be different approaches in the cloud, and we have one new approach here in the cloud that's been entered into the fray. But we've got millions and millions and millions of premise seats to transition to the cloud.
I am informed by something that I heard in a session this morning, a question from a conference attendee. And he took this to the Q&A mic after a session that was called After the Sale, the Contact Center Cloud Sale, the Good, the Bad, the Reality. And to be very frank, the consultant said that rarely is the price of cloud less than premises. If you look at the 5-year TCO, what a typical consultant is going to do, it never works. And yet everyone on the panel was saying that the future is the cloud, but it's not as, for us. I think we think all the development is in the cloud. That's the way to go. But for customers, it's not as clear as perhaps it seems to us. Okay. But I want to come back to developer versus APIs, and I want to see who else wants to make a comment before I let Mr.
I'm
Cook
waiting.
bat cleanup.
I have to agree with Paul. I mean, I don't find enterprises very often that want to build development shops. There are some who do, but to take an erector set approach to contact center isn't the most cost-effective means for most enterprises. They're looking for something that works. They want to be able to customize it and build unique experience for their end users, but they're not looking for something that is asking them to do all the heavy lifting. I mean, product management, development, testing, delivery, all of those things are not in the wheelhouse of most enterprises. Some are unique, and I agree, there is a market for some of them that are out there, but by and large, they're not looking to build their own from scratch.
So I want to be careful, right? Because obviously we don't have, this, Lego approach that you can go build your own contact center from scratch like Al does at
You got a lot of
Twilio.
toys. You got erector sets, Legos.
But I want to say, look, hats off to what Twilio's done, both in the communication space and in the CPaaS space. Like, I mean, I have huge respect for Twilio, and I want to get out of it what I think we say that customers do and don't want, because it blends across everything, whether it's developer-led, premise, hybrid, which I know you're going to kind of try to, get us going on that. But what I'd say is this: APIs are meant to bring those ancillary applications to bear in the customer experience realm that will handle those edge use cases, create those personalized customer experiences by industry, by customer size, and whatever those pieces may be. But customers do want to own the core. You got to own the core to make a solid customer journey across. But what I want to really do is rewind a little bit in history, because back in my day of selling IP telephony systems and contact center systems, we've already seen this approach. We saw this when the open source PBX came about. And the idea was exactly the same. We're going to give, freeware, you build on top of it, create these customized applications. You can build a unique PBX, and the cost of ownership will be less. And I remember in the field, and a lot of my compadres out there will say the same thing. We were like, oh my gosh, customers are buying this. We saw big deals go down early on, and it started to get momentum. And then there were companies that popped up around it, like Phonality and Digium. And then the first issues happened. And it was, who do you call? Who put it together? This, Erector set, but this development kit of contact center, Flex or whichever, is different than this one and this one. And then the IT department is stuck supporting it. And the CIO or the CEO says, who's running my contact center? What is our core business? Do we want to build contact center? I mean, for that matter, you might as well start building your own CRM. You might start building your own ERP. What is your core business? And what happens when that comes to play?
Okay, we got to let. I mean, he's gonna explode. But I before we go to you, I'm just gonna say, as I listened to you, I resonate with the asterisk kind of a story, and that I guess I take it to you and Al and say, what's different now than it was then that makes it more possible?
No, look, I mean, firstly, it is fundamentally untrue that you can slap some APIs on the side of your monolithic architecture and claim that it is as customizable as something that is designed to be customized.
Paul, do you have a monolithic architecture? Paul?
That is like that is like saying.
I'm told I have it. I'm surprised, but
that is like saying, okay, well, our landline phone is adaptable or customizable because it can call all sorts of different phone numbers, and I can take it off the hook when I want to have dinner and I don't want to take a phone call. It's adaptable. Well, but it doesn't do anything else. Like, as long as you want it to do the thing that the product managers here designed it to do, then great. But the moment you want to do something different, the moment you want to tailor it to your business, it doesn't do anything. And so look, you want a smartphone approach, and a smartphone is programmable. That doesn't mean that you have to build the thing from scratch. You turn it on out of the box, and I guarantee you an iPhone will give you a better onboarding experience than a landline phone. And that's what Flex does. Out of the box, it deploys, and it is not some building block Lego kit where you have to have an army of developers to go do this. You can go now, sign up to Flex, and go install this thing, and it will self-service get you up and running immediately. But when the time is ready, whether that is straight away or whether that is 6 months from now or 12 months from now, you can wrap this around your business rather than having to constantly wrap your business around the monolithic platforms, the monolithic applications that exist today. And that is a fundamental difference. And you cannot just shove an API on the side and say it's the same. It's like,
So
well,
who
this thing
supports
turns
it?
on or off.
So who supports it, Al? So what's the difference with the open source PBX? Who supports it?
Yeah,
when
well,
you build it?
I'd love to talk about that because, claiming that a cloud platform, a cloud communications platform is the same as open source asterisk software running on a hardware, running on a server is just not paying attention to how the actual architectural details of this thing work. Like, this is a fully cloud-based, multi-region, geographically distributed, redundant application where you are fine-tuning the behavior of the microservices, or you're fine-tuning the behavior of the user interface. But Twilio is on the hook to support it. Twilio supports it. This is the same enterprise SLA, and if anything goes wrong, we are on the hook, much like that is true of anything else. But the difference is you have the exact behavior that you want. You have the exact application.
I didn't get in on this one.
Yep.
It's all right.
Go ahead. I don't think we're going to get to the last question, but
I
that's
don't
okay.
think so either.
The only thing I would say here is, again, a lot of respect for what Twilio has done. We agree with Paul that it's somewhere between 10 and 20%. It's going to be developer-led. That doesn't mean Twilio can't play in other places, but 10 to 20% is going to be
I love the comparison.
developer-led. Saying that, use Lyft as an example. I know there's another example where their biggest competitor, where they looked at a microservices platform from Genesis and a microservices platform from another competitor on the stage. And they thought that they would get to value much quicker using, and this was developer-led, and they could develop better on the Genesis platform. And so I think to say that it's all monolithic up here, I think is overstating the case maybe. And I think a lot of people up here have iPhones as well. And a very good application development program as well.
Yeah, I think the last thing I'll say is it's not, in my view, this isn't about one cloud approach versus another. I think there's going to be a place in the world. It's a big world. That's a huge market, billions and billions and billions of dollars. There is a market for a packaged off-the-shelf SaaS type product that is configurable and does have APIs and allows you to get most of what you need right out of the gate. I believe there could be a market at the very top end for a developer-led sort of DIY kind of a solution. I think that anyone who's building modern SaaS services today will be able to tell you that, of course, you don't build monolithic apps. You build microservices layers with REST APIs at every layer. This isn't something new. This is something that's been known about for years. So there's nothing new there in that sense. And frankly, it's a big world. But the key thing is that I think we can't lose sight of that the opportunity here is to accelerate customers by moving them off of legacy premises infrastructure and onto the cloud.
So that was going to be our last question, Beth. You tell me about timing. Do we have time to throw it out?
Well, I'll throw it out there, and I think you can pick maybe one person.
Even Beth knows I get to choose. Okay.
Yeah. So we're going to reference one of your peers who's not on the stage, Vic Varma, who's the CEO of 8x8. He said during a financial analyst call earlier this year, I don't think there's any hybrid required for telephony. Old and new companies all evolving to cloud only. The train has left the station for hybrid. Agree, disagree? Sheila, you get to pick who are.
I'm actually going to pick two because I think there's two schools of thought up here. I'm going to pick Mr. McGugan, and I'm going to pick Mr. Eggermeyer.
Okay.
And keep it short, guys.
Yeah. So there has the train left the station on hybrid. We've got a number of customers who are struggling with how they do move to cloud. It's not a simple one size fits all for any single customer that's out there. And the way we've approached it is to enable them to take technology at a pace that makes sense for them. If they choose to bring some of their agents onto a cloud service, they can do that. We simply allow that. And so it really comes down to what's a customer trying to solve for and what's the pace at which they can afford to transition to a cloud service. It is not a one-size-fits-all, and it's not a flash cut.
Mr. Eggemeyer.
Yeah, quickly. We have 1,200 new customers the last 2 years, and the vast majority of those customers purchased a cloud solution and implemented a cloud solution. So that is the trend that is absolutely happening. I'd say people go to different pace, and so to think that like you want to have the same train at the same station, go at the same time at the same destination is a little naive. And I really believe people are going to migrate at their own pace, but the world is moving to cloud.
Okay, with that, thank you, gentlemen. We really appreciate it. Sheila, you've been great fun up here. How about a big round of applause for these folks?
Thank you.